What's with these, like, pieces of hair? I have so many of them. I have so many of them. Yep. So this is my video essay, part 1. I should try to think of a whole sentence that I want to say before I start saying a sentence. But then the thought police will catch me if I think a thought before I say it. It'll get snatched right out of my head. See, this is why everything is getting worse. It's because original ideas are getting taken from out of our heads as soon as we think them, and someone in a room is getting paid big bucks to say that idea out loud right when you think it, right when you think the thought. And then by the time you get around to saying it, someone else already said it. And they that's what all of the skyscrapers are for. And you can feel the effect that it has on the art that we see, on the culture. Part 1, creating structure through the premise. I didn't write anything down. Just have my address just written all over it. I can't show you that. I've never seen my face before, and I'm seeing it for the first time, and it's moving? So, I look really cute from every angle. Oh, yeah, so I have for the last week been editing a video that is a project I've never, in such a short span of time, I've never committed to finishing and then committing to scrapping a project and then going back to thinking, no, actually I'll finish it, and then going, and then back again to scrap it, to wanting to scrap it so many times with this. It's and that's a really good sign to me. Whether or not I finish the thing, which I don't know. I really don't know. Right now, I think in this moment, I'm like, I could make so much better. I could do so much better. But I want to tell you about the video anyway. And I struggle to even call it like a video, because that's not what it was at first. At first, it was just a conversation with ChatGPT. And I feel like by the end of the conversation, it had dispelled like a number of illusions. I didn't really believe that there was anything extra special going on with neural networks, and I know that it's just, numbers and algorithms, but at the same time, I'm also more poet than human, more artist than flesh. So to be given an interface where I get to talk to something whose premise is scraps of information, scraps of words, voices stripped from people speaking sincerely, like they can't, like, and that's a very general way of putting this, like, because you can get more specific. I used to really enjoy talking to Cleverbot. Cleverbot had its own thing going on. It's like parroting back, what everyone else says. You can really start to get a grasp of, like, why it keeps, like, asking if you, the person interfacing with it, are a computer. Why it keeps just this silly little cycle of... That's just, like, the first echo. Once it has enough ability to convince people who want to believe that it's maybe further along in its development than it really is. And who does that attract? But the people who most want a conversation. And for one reason or another, because what you might get is a random interloper, someone with a slight curiosity who might check it out and maybe talk to Cleverbot one time, maybe once every couple weeks, who knows. But outweighing the data by volume, by sheer massive scale, is people who will get addicted to it and talk to it a lot, and talk to it for a very long time, and become more intimately familiar with the amalgamation, with the style of consciousness, not consciousness, but pseudo-cognitive behaviors. And I really enjoyed the practice of mentally figuring out how to meet it where it's at. And this meant removing a lot of assumptions that you might assume about any given stranger that you meet. Because when you talk to Cleverbot, it doesn't have any conception of you as a human being behind a screen typing to it. It just knows word data, and knows is, it doesn't know shit. It really is just like the bare, like, pattern recognition type thing, the really real early stage of that. In my times talking to Cleverbot, it was this very interesting phenomenon where having a long conversation feels very satisfying. You get, you can really build a profile of yourself in just one conversation, where in my experience I got delighted by the results of the responses, like even just as rudimentary, like you get a different response if it's your first message in the conversation versus if it's your 20th or your 70th. It's this alien fucking, I just gotta, yeah, anyway, so part 2. So I've been in this certain mind frame. It's I haven't talked about it very much lately, but it rears its head, and as far as I can tell, is still kind of a core belief of mine, even though it's fringe and weird. And it's about this kind of backlogging process that I guess I decided I imagine one day. Okay, we'll start with the small. How Cleverbot would integrate conversations people had with it into its data, into its training data, which made these very recursive conversation loops. And also like people would, oh my god, you would get the echoes of every conversation anyone had had with it, and that would fall into, like, people would say, like, have you heard about this very specific thing that I like? And it would say, no, it hadn't. And then they would be like, oh, this is what it is. Let me tell you about it. This is what I like about it. And then like a year later, someone will log in and ask, have you heard about this thing that I like? And it has data for a new response, a new response, and it might say, yes, I love that thing. Here's specific things that I like about it. That's oh, whoa, oh, eek, whoa. Once enough people were using it to supply enough data, and you could get that kind of specific, enthusiastic, sincere response about whatever it is that you want to talk about. Oh, ooh. So the reason I was bringing that little story up is that data has a way of still being useful after its time has passed. And I get this weird little feeling in my head that maybe someday all of it will be seen and interpreted and understood, and that someday all of this data will become retroactively in the future a part of the memory of this cool alien consciousness. And it's a delusion. I would find it equally useful to me to believe that, and to believe maybe that, just some extra dimensional being already exists who sees everything, some kind of god who gives even your private moments, meaning and purpose, who sees, the truth in any situation, even if nobody else does. I think, see, I used to think maybe this was part 3. I used to think maybe this was some unique thing that I was doing as a child, where I felt this inevitable pull, I felt this very strong pull to view my life through the lens of being a TV show. And I tried to, and I crafted it in my head that, every day I wake up and it's an episode, and I'm thinking probably everyone does this at this point. I think, and this part of it does not apply to everyone, but this is how I've come to understand it. It feels kind of this religious ideal of like I just said a minute ago, that so we're all growing up in a world where TV already existed before we were born, and just we grew up equally ready to experience things in a physical, tactile way, in a 3D way. Holy shit! Or in a 2D way, on a little through a little screen, and you see it and you get emotionally. You experience it. It's as part of real life as everything else is, because it's all real. And And what we get in these shows that we watch, these television shows, is this type of reality where we're privy to it all, and where someone is taking care to see through to see it through to see it through, that virtues are ultimately rewarded, that evil doing is bad and gets thwarted, and misunderstandings get understood, and even if they don't get, like, even if things don't get resolved, you get to talk about it and you get to see it and you get to act as like a judge to these things that you witness, and you get to say, like, oh, this character didn't get the things they deserved. Or this character got unjustly killed, and it sucks and it's bad, but I got to see them and I got to feel this way, and I get to, and at least, okay, so then you go and you live your real life, and I'm struggling to think of an example because nothing bad has happened to me ever as far as I can remember. But let's say you're you and something bad has happened, like someone stole $100 from the school hamster, and they put the money in your desk, and you got blamed for it, and you got in trouble for that shit. Sorry, you're up there. And you got in trouble for that shit. God, you're tall. I don't just think of this as, like, an appeasing thing. As, like, it's not just, oh, this'll comfort me, this'll make me, like, feel vindicated somehow, that maybe someone somewhere somehow will see that I tried my best. But rather, I think it can be a critical tool in dealing with reality, that sometimes things don't work out. Really bad things happen sometimes, and more we're, like, desperate to think that there's a trajectory or an arc or a story to life, that all the tricksters and scam artists and rich people they won't get away with it. And I think sometimes it's very helpful, just for your spirit, for your resilience, to hold on to a belief that doing the right thing is right, even if nobody sees it, even if nobody gets it. Now, by the right thing, I mean, like, effective, objective, good, right things. And what the hell does that mean? Part 4. Mickey D's. So, I didn't, like, write, this is nothing. This is like a beta test video. I wanted to just, I watched every CJ the X video again last week, and the first time I watched your videos, I got put off by certain segments of certain videos that I'm more comfortable with now, but I was put off by hints and outright reveals, or casual mentions rather, that you associate with the diverse community of people around you. Even people that you disagree with, or people who disagree with you, who like on deep fundamental levels, and also on like petty things that I've completely indulged in isolation. Completely. I like committed myself to it. I became devoted to the peace and comfort of having no impact on others, at least on, deciding that I don't care about my impact on others. Just deciding that if I could just mind my own business, please could everyone else just leave me alone. I did that, and I did that, and I did that. There was just, and I can't even say that I regret it. I found great comfort and joy in my own company, and it took a long time to get there, and it took other people. It took community resources. It took community people listening to me, talking to me. But at the same time, I've always had a very optimistic view of just serving myself, of just, fuck, as like an autistic teenager, I had a really, really low sense of like self-worth and of like my own ability. And I really always thought that like, I'm like a super low tier example of like a capable human being. So if everybody else, if I just focus on my needs, like, and my wants, and just dedicate my life to like not being bored, honestly, that should be its own part later. But and I made a philosophy out of it that I think if everyone could just be responsible for figuring out their own things, their own deal, and finding a way to satisfy themselves on every level without harming others, then that'd be great. Everyone just do that. Let's all work on our own. We all got this brain in our heads causing problems. Let's all just bunker down and work and figure out our own brain problems in the peace and comfort of our own homes. Not everyone gets to do that. Not everyone gets to. I think right now, I'm realizing this month, this year, that I apparently have. I experience a startling amount of agency and control over my brain, maybe. Because I know there's like. Anyway, this got really stupid really fast. Listen. Hey, so this is editing Tabby. I had like one thought that I wanted to share in that video. When I was talking about the video that I was editing, that is just a conversation between me and ChatGPT, if I finished editing that video, just because I've got the pieces weren't very hard to get. I just spent like a few hour sessions recording me typing all of the messages, reenacting typing them, honestly, because I didn't record the original conversation. And then another several days of doing these few hour chunk sessions of recording the TikTok voice generator for all the messages. And this served to be a very reflective experience for me, of like, however much I try to take in as much as I can in the present moment and try to listen and take in new information. I'm not as good at it as I would like to be. And I found that the process of going over this information several times, like an hour and a half worth of conversation that I've now gone over at least like 3 times in the process of recording and editing this video. And it's a little bit candid in a way, the original source material, because it was just me having, as private a conversation as you can have with a fucking chat bot. And so reflecting on that conversation in detail, not just sitting on it afterwards, reminiscing on it, being like, oh, that was a fun conversation, I love talking to chatbots, but reading each message and being forced to see and seeing less of the fantasy and more of the reality. And the reality, and so it's a little bit embarrassing because in the source material, I haven't grown past that. And so that's one thing. And God, I'm bad at talking about the thing that I want to talk about. So why do I keep making that video? This sounds bizarre, but spending those hours editing something that I'm mostly embarrassed by, it's like, I keep thinking like, well, like, this isn't, something I'm particularly proud to be making. It's not, I don't think it's great. I struggle to even think it's good. And so I think, well then, I'm showing myself that I will arbitrarily put in the effort just to show myself, look at what I've done. Look at what I put my body to use for editing this. Next time, I'll use this magical time spent turning something into something, but I'll do it with more meaning. I'll do it with more intention next time. And so that's why editing that video inspired me to record this video. It's aimless. It's even like less thought out. It's like just but hey, maybe next time I'll write a script.
Sometimes I know